Just get it done. Don't whine about it. Don't complain about it. Don't try to push it somewhere else. Don't make any excuses. Like, if you truly want this, you're going to figure it out, right? Just get it done. Not too many people, especially today, they just are not disciplined enough to do what they say they're going to do. They don't follow through. They need that support system. That's why I said that I think the habits, the standards, and the disciplines, that's really the key for success.
You're listening to the number one real estate podcast in the world, where we talk with real estate professionals all across North America about their wins, losses, lessons, and stories help you win in your local market. Today, my name is Cody from Sheridan Street. I am joined with Vikram Deal from the Real Estate Sales Academy. Vikram, how you doing, man? How are things? Before we intro our guest, what was one of the best things that happened this week for you in business or life?
Yeah, dude, we are on a massive growth path right now. I got to just Slack and emails and everything. We're on a massive growth path right now, and we're just super focused on client acquisition and client retention. And so we're really, which is funny because like my private clients that I have, like all my one-on-one clients, they're on the same process too. So like my one-on-one clients, we typically talk more processes, more systems and strategy, whereas my group clients, we talk more about just the sales aspect of it. So, yeah, like it's funny how the world and the universe kind of gives you the same thing that you're working on, as well as like what your clients are working on. So we're systematizing. We brought in a new, it's our third Daniela in the last 3 weeks. We've had
so many Dans on your team.
Yeah, we had a Daniela, and she went and got a job at, she got offered a job at her school she trained at. Then I fired Daniel because he was needing to be fired. And then we got Daniela number 2. And we're really just systematizing everything and putting everything into workflows and processes, so that the client journeys are really good. And then our setter, I hired a new setter, and we booked 6 appointments yesterday. So we've spent the last 3 weeks like in the trenches, like every day, crushing training. And he booked 6 yesterday. So wow, that's cool. Now we just got to work on the back end system to make sure that our, automations and everything are working. What are you working on, Mr. Cody May? I see those fancy lights. No news.
You like these lights? Thank you for helping me pick them out last week. Yeah, no, man, things are good. Everything at Sheridan Street's good. Clients are winning, which is like, and I'm super excited to chat today, about productivity. And I know we're going to dive into that today, but yeah, like clients are winning. I did a training with a lot of our agents this week on just scripting and role playing and cadence and tonality. And we kind of went through Sharon's framework on how to actually book in-person meetings. And literally right after that training that I did with our clients, they were booking in-person meetings like crazy, like left and right. It's just, I think that my biggest takeaway is that, it's like that level of accountability. I know you chatted a lot about this, and we actually did a training, 7-figure real estate leads and conversion last week, around really understanding that if we just lead with value and we lead with great tone and we ask the right questions, we get good answers. So yeah, a lot of good things happening in our world, agents picking up their phone, which is like very strange, but they're picking up their phone and they're answering live transfers and they're booking appointments. So it's good.
Well, it's funny.
Life is good here.
When the market goes from a skill or from momentum to skill, all of a sudden when your phone was ringing 37 times a day, like, I don't need to pick up that one. Who cares? I got 37 deals in the pipeline to kind of washed up and dry. You start nurturing yourself a little bit better. It's funny how that phone call becomes really, really valuable now. Whereas last year, oh, Cody, we get so many calls every day, bro. Like, we don't need to pick up our phone. I'm like, okay, see how that works out next year.
And like, and you and I were chatting with this the other day, right before we introduced our guest here, but like you and I were having a conversation with this the other day that it is crazy the amount of conversations that we're having right now, and my sales team, my business development team is having right now with agents that did 20 deals last year that haven't even sold a home yet this year. Like that conversation is so real and it's so common. And I think that this is a great opportunity for us to introduce our guest, because our guest is growing, he's scaling, he's building, he's not slowing down. Vic, why don't you intro our guest and we can chat a little bit about agent productivity and how we can make sure that the people listening are not declining but increasing this year.
So my boy John, I've known him for, I think we're going on 10 years that we've known each other. We met at a conference a long time ago. And what I love about him is he's got great energy. Like he truly embodies who he is as a human, it's just a beautiful thing to see. But he's got investments. He's done multifamily. He sells. He's going to quadruple, if not 10x his team this year. He coaches other realtors, but he has a big heart. Like the one thing that you'll see about John is that he's got a huge heart. Like if you ever ask him for anything, he's never too busy for you. Like I'm like, I hate doing things. And John's like, I love doing things. So it's cool. I'm like, yo, talk to my assistant. John's like, no, I got you, bro. So without further ado, from not upstate New York.
Queens, New York.
Queens, New
In
York.
the city. New York City, baby.
And I love it that we all got our Shure mics. But John, I don't want to butcher your last name. Give me Tayeb.
Tayeb, yeah, you got it. You got it good. Just call me Coach JT. That's it, man. Let's roll with that. You know what? I'm so
What's a
glad
quick
to be
intro,
with
bro?
you guys. I'm so glad. You know what? There was such a powerful intro. And you know what, Vikram? If I think about it now, you're kind of right on the upstate, because we have a Airbnb in Catskill, and we kind of go like every other weekend. So I can tell about myself that I'm probably from upstate now. And you know what? I love that, right? Because it's good to grind and going all in and stuff like that. But if you don't take the break to really, recharge the batteries and reflect on what you're doing so you can make those pivot moments, you might be grinding and heading in the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you might get too far away and it might be really hard to come back, right?
Well, let's form on that for a second, because I know you, I know Cody and I, when we were in the blue room, green room. What's the backstage called? Backstage,
Green room.
180 podcast. 180 podcasts. I don't even know what we're calling these things. When we're in the purple room backstage, we were talking about things, and I know the one thing that I know, like from what I know about you, John, from the years that we've spent time together, you are a grinder, but you also have like just that entrepreneurial spirit. So how does an agent, like, let's just talk about it, because Cody brought up that there's agents who did 20, 30 deals last year. Now they're at 0, 1, 2, 3, when they were at 5 to 8, 9, 10 at this point last year. The spring market, the reports are out, the inventory's low. We know that there's going to be tough times ahead. So how do we take an agent who was productive last year and keep them in production? Like, what are your thoughts around it? Like, what do you think that agents are lacking right now to keep them productive?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Vikram. And I think the agents, they're really lacking, the basics, right? And what are the basics in real estate? Well, we know the basics is, hey, we need to have conversations with people, because we're not just selling real estate, but we're really building relationship, and those relationships then, they're going to really take care of us as well, right? But I would like to go back. I think it really goes with the ethics, habits, and right standards, right? Because end of the day, you can put me into any business and I know I'll be successful because I have the right ethics, I have the right habits, and I have a good standards, right? And that's something, for me, which me as a person, I have to be working on every single day, right? So what I see, most of the agents, they think they need to be good at on the video, they need to have a certain skill set, right? But it really boils down to the basics. Like, if you say you're going to do something, just get it done. Don't whine about it. Don't complain about it. Don't try to push it somewhere else. Don't make any excuses. Like, if you truly want this, you're going to figure it out, right? Just get it done. So something I've been always working with agents on, Vikram, it's leading with productivity. Okay. So I know, Cody, you said you have some agents which they sold 20 homes last year, right? When the market was hot. And right now they're struggling. They're like, you know what? I can't even get one on the contract. I would talk to them more about it. Like, well, like, why is that? Who are you working with? Do you have somebody in the pipeline? And when you're taking them out, like, what are the conversations you have with the people? If you're about to summon an offer and they're not summoning an offer, or they're summoning an offer and they're getting beat up at every time, maybe you got to discuss, what are the expectations from them and from you, and what they're really looking for, and whether their expectation, what the home needs to have, and what their budget is, if it matches, right? Because if their expectation is here and their budget is here, you're never going to be able to sell them anything, right? So really, talking to the clients from the get-go about the expectation, it's crucial. But we can never forget that, like Vikram said it, we were in moment to market where anyone and everyone could sell any home. It was so easy. I mean, you get a buyer, you show me a home, he would write an offer $100,000 over the asking price, and they would go on the contract, right? You didn't need to have...
They would lose that 100,000 over asking too.
That's correct. 100%. So, I mean, you didn't need to have any type of a skill set, right? Like actually a skill, right? To make that transaction happen. And to tell you the truth, me personally, I love this market because, I like it hard. I like it tough. I like it challenging because, number one, I know I'm getting better, way better when this market is tough because I got to grow. I got to think outside the box right now. I got to do things differently. I got to do them better. I got to get better, when I'm speaking to people. I got to ask better questions, right? And at the same time, there's less competition. Let's be honest. Who wants to do tough things? Well, too many people, right? The agents, generally speaking, which they've gotten into the business for the past 2 to 5 years, the reason they got in because it was an easy business to get in and easy business to make money, right? We are in completely different transaction right now. Yeah.
And it, I would love for you to speak to this because I've spoken to many, 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 many agents that have been in the business for 15 years. And this year is different for them. So like I spoke to an agent who's been in the business, 2 days ago, been in the business for 15 years. He got into the business around 2008, right after the crash, and did 20 deals last year and hasn't sold a home yet this year. So like, what are some things, like when you're coaching with Tom or you're advocating for your agents that you're working with, what are some like of the non-negotiables that you put in place, or some of the things that they do on a daily basis in order to make them high performers? Because it seems like a lot of these single agents that have been in the business for 15 years are going to go out of business because they don't either, A, they don't have a pipeline, B, they don't have the right skills, but they managed to last 15 years in the business, but this year is different. And some of them will be in a good position because, maybe they have savings, maybe they have, ability to turn things around, but other people, aren't going to be that lucky. And I'm curious to know kind of like your perspective on that, on what are some non-negotiable things that you could do in your business in order to stay in business long-term?
Great question, man. So I think it's a lack, if the goal, it doesn't have a strong why behind it to support it, they're just not going to do the work, right? Like now it's the time, when it gets tough and they have a plan B in place, maybe they have, some investments, they have, secondary business, they have something going on, they're just not going to go all in, right? So there's a funny story, guys. I don't know if you heard this one. So there's a guy, he wants to go to a pub, right? And there's a guy sitting in a chair, a rocking chair is rocking, and he has a dog sitting next to him like this, and the dog is like and like the dog is in pain, right? And so the guy coming in, he looks at the dog, and he's like, what's going on with the dog? So he asks the guy, like, it sounds like something's going on with your dog. Like, what's up with him? And he said, well, he actually sits on the nail. He sits on the nail? I mean, God, why he doesn't move from the nail? And he said, well, it doesn't hurt him enough for him to move, right? And I think in reality, like for us, we as humans, if the pain it's big enough, right, we will do what it takes. Like, if we have to put our life on the line to serve our families, like every human being would do that, right? But in reality, like selling real estate and putting food on the table and really taking care of our kids and our families and building a brighter and better and bigger future for them, isn't it a question of death or life? It's maybe not on top of mind, or maybe they just have different plans as well. So I think it really, and it's funny you asked me that question because that's exactly what he did with the team today. We talked about why. We talked about those goals, like what are your goals? Where you want to be when you're about to breathe your last, and you're about to die, and we all know we're going to die, right? And you look back at your life, like what have you accomplished? Like what your life actually looked like? Where you lived, who you lived with, how many kids you had, what businesses did you own, or did you have businesses? Like, let's talk about that. And most people you ask this question is like, oh, John, I never think that far. Okay, let's try 10 years. I never think about 10 years. What about 5 years? I never think about 5 years neither. But they think about that 1 year, right? But in reality, guys, if your goal in 10 years or life goals is to head in this direction, and when your 1 year goal, you're heading in this direction, and your 1 day you're heading in this direction, your 1 week you're heading in this direction, that's what I said, you're heading in the wrong direction. And that's a problem, right? So I think that's the number one thing. Really figure it out, like, what do you want from your life? Because you know what? You have just one life to live. I'm sorry, but me personally, I don't believe we're coming back. That's my personal opinion. I think we here, we might go somewhere else, but this is it, right? So let's really make it count. So that's one, Cody. Second thing is, we gotta simplify it for them. There is just way too much noise, way too much pollution. You know, with social media, you see some agents, they're successful with YouTube. Some people do this, some people do that. But really, if you want to sell 20 homes this year, and you look at your last year and you say, okay, last year it was kind of different. So you might look at the 5 years, you might average it out and you say, okay, I sold 20 homes, right? But how many people did I spoke to sell those 20 homes? Okay. I spoke with 2,000 people. All right. So divided 2,000 by 20. So what does that mean? That means if you want to sell one home, you need to speak to 100 people, right? Okay, you sold 20 homes. How many offers did you put in? Okay, you put in 60 offers. What it means? 3 offers, 1 deal, right? How many showings did you have? How many appointments did you have, right? So you want to be as granular as possible, because the more granular you're going to be, the more likely you're going to hit your goal. And by the way, I did a whole training on how to hit your goals at every given point without missing it, right? Because end of the day, guys, it boils down to the numbers, right? And if you do the work, you're going to have the power. You're going to hit those goals. The problem is, though, even though you break this down for people, they're still not going to do it. Like, that's the craziest thing, right? Like, I can tell you, Vikram, you speak to 10 people a day. That's it. That's all one thing you should do, and you make 40 million a year. 90% of the people, they still not going to do it. So what do they need? They need a bigger why. They need to know those numbers. They need to know what they have to do, and they need to have some type of a support in place, right? Where they reminded, preferably every single day, like, did you hit your goals today? Did you speak to those 10 people per day? And I wouldn't even say that. I would probably say, like, Josh, you still want to buy the condo in Miami, man, for your grandparents? I know it was kind of important to you. Yeah. I still want to do it because I'm kind of worried now, because I know you want to go there, but it seems like you're going here because of these things. I just wanted to make sure what we're doing. And that usually, like, gets them back on track, right? So you need to have some type of a support in place, because honestly, not too many people, especially today, because of the ethics and because of these standards, right? They just are not disciplined enough to do what they say they're going to do. They don't follow through. They need that support system. That's why I said that I think the habits, the standards, and the disciplines, that's really the key for success.
Me and Vic, you and I have had this conversation multiple times around just around like a lack of knowledge in the ecosystem. Like you and I, like we had a conversation about this the other day where it's like the vast majority of agents don't know what a hot sheet is. They don't know that, they don't understand, like a lot of agents don't understand off-market properties. They don't get the things that will actually get the buyers and sellers to make the move when they're on the fence. So I'm curious what you're doing in order to give your agents the tools that they need. So me and Vikram were having a conversation the other day with an agent around, there's a company on the marketplace, they're called Revive, and essentially KW and a bunch of different brands out there will essentially do $0 down on renovations, pay upon closing. And that's a great, offer that you can get in front of a seller to even book a meeting. But like, where can you, like, what do you do with your agents to have them high producing so they can find solutions to problems that buyers and sellers are facing in the marketplace? Because I find there's just a crazy amount of lack of information on the agent's side to know how to overcome an objection, to know how to give them the right tools, to give the buyers and the sellers the right tools. Because right now, me and Vic, we've been having conversations about this all the time, that, it's like agents aren't necessarily going up against other agents. They're going up against the media. They're going up against Uncle Fred's bad information. They're going up against mom and dad saying, sit on the sidelines and wait for interest rates to drop, which may or may not be the right answer. We don't know. An advisor needs to sit down with them to give them the information. But how can agents that want to be high producing find information that will give them the tools they need to close more transactions?
Great question. So Cody, we do 6 trainings a week in the office for the agents. And, most people might think it's overkill, but it's necessary. Like Kobe Bryant was one of the best, if not the best, in what he was doing. Now, how often he was practicing his art?
3 times a day.
3 times a day. How often most agents practice their art?
Once a year.
If any, right? Like,
yep.
Probably.
It's like John, it's like leg day. It's like leg day. Good thing it only comes around once a year, right?
It's crazy. It's crazy. And I mean, I always tell people, when I have a new agent starting up, I say, take your license out for me, right? They take the license and I say, and usually they come and they're like, hey, I want to do YouTube, I want to do those videos. And I mean, it's cool. Hey, listen, I'm not just ragging that stuff. What we're doing here, it's a video as well, right? It's important part of our business. But take your license out. What does it say on the license? It says salesperson license. So what do we need to be working on first? It's your sales skills. Because, we need to learn those skills, right? So like every Wednesday, and it's kind of open for everybody. So if somebody wants to jump on it, just, DM Vikram and he can probably get you the link. I'll get you the link. 9 to 12, we do prospecting bootcamp. Okay. It's basically we letting people peek in on what we're doing in the office with the agents pretty much 4 or 5 times a week. Basically 9 o'clock, we do affirmations. Because if you're not in the right mindset to make those calls, right? If you're thinking about, your wife, and you're talking about the problems in your life, and you're thinking about the deal falling apart, and you check the emails and all that stuff, right? You got to start with your affirmations. You got to get in the right mindset. And what are real affirmations? Affirmations is really a positive self-talk or a self-talk, which is empowering you, in the right way and pushing you in the right direction, right? So if you're afraid getting on the phone, maybe one of your affirmations could be, I love my phone and my phone loves me. And now don't just say it. Say it like you mean it. Because when you put that feeling into it, you would really engrave it. You would engrave it into your body, into your soul, right? And you will become it. So we always start getting in the right mindset. If we have to do push-ups, if I see people like they glossing a little, I'm like, hey, we got to do some push-ups, man. Like, we got to be energetic. We got to be ready to go, right? Once they have the right energy, let's do some role plays. And it could be buy scripts, it could be listing scripts, it could be price adjustments, it could be how to present an offer, right? It could be when you're sitting down with a seller and you have to ask him for a price change, you got to role play that stuff, right? So we role play about 30 minutes. We get on the phone about 60 minutes and we play a game. we play a game, because the winner who says the most appointments wins, right? So we count calls, we count conversations, and we count appointments. So we go for about an hour, all right? Fun game. I usually go around and I listen to people. I see what they're saying, how they're saying it, and give them the little adjustments here and there. Then we'll break. We'll come back. We'll role play those objections. I want to hear every objection we got, the good ones. We'll role play that. We'll give them the tips and the tools right away to jump back on. They jump back on for another hour. They role play more. Then we'll recap. We'll review. We'll see how many appointments we got, right? And let me tell you, we're getting people, they coming over here, fresh people or old people. They never got on the phone before. They're like, oh my God, I gotta call the number. I'm like, relax. It's just a phone call. You're not gonna die end of the day, right? Let's just talk to the guy. Let's have fun with it. Just follow the script and you'll be okay. And they're actually setting appointments on their first phone calls. Like, how amazing that is.
Well,
right?
let's just jump into this. Because, if we're going to talk about what it takes to be productive in 2023, it's skills, right? Like it comes down to one thing is you got to have skills, right? The discipline is hard to have when you don't have skills. Like, who wants to sit there and make 100 phone calls and get slammed on 97 of the 100 times? Because if you don't know the right thing to say, you're going to get slammed. So you say you guys do 6 days of training in your office.
Yeah.
Right. And you guys spend a couple of hours a day building skills for your agents. When you guys are doing these disciplined activities, right? Because that's what it is. It's a disciplined activity. It's like going to the gym, right? We could all sit on the couch and eat Cheetos or get up and go to the gym, right? It's hard to go to the gym. It's hard to be 50 years old and look like 90, right? Like both are hard. Pick your hard. So how are you selling this to your agents that this is like, we can't make certain things mandatory because agents that are on teams are typically 1099s. And so you have that legality thing. But how do you get an agent who is so uncomfortable with themselves to start doing affirmations or incantations? Like, I am this, I am great, right? Because the two most powerful words in the English language are I am. So what is your company culture that allows people to feel comfortable being themselves?
You block everything else.
How?
Well, that's all we do. That this is how we roll over here, right? So it's the schedule. The agent actually, Vikram, they love the trainings and the structure because they know deep inside the good agents, right? They know deep inside this is what I need, right?
I mean, our office, we did the same thing, bro. Like, I don't know if you remember 6, 7, 8 years ago, we would go Facebook Live and I would do my trainings online. My brokers would get mad at me because they're like, Vic, we're not salespeople, we're consultants. I'm like, no, my license is sales.
Yeah.
I sell real estate. That's what I do. People are like, oh, Vic's a real estate salesperson. I was like, so I sell and we teach sales in our office.
Yes. 100%. Look, we got a new agent here. Okay. He came from a different brokerage. And the broker was telling him, no scripts, don't learn no sales, don't call people. All what you do, you just show, and then they buy. And he was like, I worked with it for 2 to 3 months and I didn't sell anything. Like, what do you think I did wrong? I'm like, I think I know what you did wrong. And I mean, he got on the phone over here and he got the appointment already. The very first day. Yeah. The very first day, right?
Why do you think there is this stigma in real estate, or we have real estate coaches? Like, you look at guys like Tom Ferry, who tried and true principles, and you coach with Tom, like, is teaching people how to actually sell, teaching people how to actually track their numbers. But then there are coaches out there, like me and Vikram talk about this all the time. There's coaches out there who are saying cold calling doesn't work, or it's, or this doesn't work, or
because they could have get away with it in that market, right? Like, for the past 5 years, agents, they didn't need to have that sales skill to really sell, right? So they could have said, hey, just do YouTube ads and you make millions. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, because it was possible. But now the market is different. Now people, like, they taking their time. They're really thinking, you need to know what you're talking about now. And that's the difference. And I really think, Vikram, now maybe it's a time to push back now on the sales skills because there's a lot of need. I mean, a lot of the brokers, they're realizing right now Like, oh man, we got to train our agents now.
Yep.
And honestly, we as brokers, a lot of us, we lazy, right?
You have
Because
you have the same habits you had as a real estate agent.
yeah. And I mean, and not only that, I think it's almost like, my previous broker years ago, great guy, Steve Lagoudis. I mean, I love that guy. I learned a lot from him, a developer as well. And he said, John, in real estate, you cannot depend on independent people. He talks about agents, right? And the problem is that most brokers or most team leaders, they almost afraid investing their resources and time into an agent because the rate is not guaranteed. Let's be honest, right?
Well, it's a lot of work. I mean,
Yep.
like we're developing sales scripts and programs for our clients all the times, right? And it takes a lot of effort to implement it, because it's not just like, okay, develop the program, it's to implement it, and that's effort. And it's like, it's easier to just go out there and hire or go sell 10 houses and make $200,000 than it is to hire 5 agents and train them, because the likelihood that those 5 are going to be around in 3 years is pretty low. But if you have a great culture and training, now it changes everything up. Like Cody and I talk about this with Sharon, and it's the world has shifted so fast. And the reason why a lot of teams, and Cody and I have discussed this at dinner a lot, the reason why a lot of teams are failing right now isn't because they don't have the infrastructure for leads. It's not that they don't have the infrastructure for transactions, like listing and stuff like that. It's because nobody on their team knows how to sell, and the broker doesn't know how to sell or teach. And it's, the question that Sharon posed to us a couple months ago, or he said online or something, or maybe it was Cody, I don't remember, but he said, did the market grow or did your business grow? If the market grew 50% and your business grew 30%, you actually underperformed the market by 20%, even though you're up 30% year over year. Like, you underperform. But again, you have to track your numbers to know, and you have to know stats. So it goes back to how to, like, if an agent doesn't have a John, right? If they don't have you as their leader that puts in the effort and the money and the time and the resources to train them, where does an agent learn these stats? Because they're not statisticians, they're not mathematicians, they didn't graduate with MBAs. They're just normal people that got into real estate, and then they realized, like, real estate's really complicated. So where do they go to just learn some of these basic conversational pieces to win? Because their clients know more than they do.
Yeah. No, that's, back to basics, right? And I think if, this business, it's not for everyone. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? It's super easy to get in, but it's extremely hard to be successful, right? Because, really, you can make a lot of money, but not everybody does, right? And then, yeah, if you made the money, what that's completely different question whatsoever, right? But I think if you really want to do this business, and think about where you're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, and if this business will support it and can get you there faster, right? You gotta put everything on the table. So there's a difference, Vikram, right? I think I have a very unfair advantage for most people, and that is that I gave up a lot in my life to be in this spot. And most people, they just not willing to pay that price. So if that's something you really want, you got to pay the ultimate price. The ultimate price. You got to put everything on the table. If that's what you want, if that's what you're really after, you got to put everything on. All the chips goes in. Another thing, I just wanna add something to it. I was blessed to meet and speak briefly with Tim Grover. Mm-hmm. Tim Grover was a coach of Kobe Bryant, right? And my question to him was, Tim, as I go through life, I set it go, bam, I crash it. I set it go, bam, I crash. I set it go, bam, I crashed it. At what point I would know that I actually have arrived? And he said, you never will, because it's not about the destination, but it's about the journey. You gotta fall in love with that grind, with that challenge, with that pain, right? Like, I love it. And I thought about it. I said, you know what? He's right. Like, I love to grind. I love to challenge myself. I love to grow. I love to triple down and fall down and be like, oh man, what did I do wrong? How can I make it better? It feels so good, right? So you have to also be a little crazy, in order to be really successful, I think. And not everyone is willing to be crazy or seem crazy or be obsessed, right? To really reach that level of success they desire.
I love the obsession. And if there is one thing that we've chatted about, and I'm like me, Vikram, and Sharon had this conversation, is like pick one thing in your business that you get absolutely obsessed about and learn it. And if there's one thing you get obsessed about, it's sales. And today, like there was so much value, John, and I just want to like say thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time in order to chat with us. It's just about the market, about productivity, and really how you perform at a really high level. If somebody were to want to reach out to you, want to have a conversation, maybe they're in the New York area and I know that you're growing massively and you're looking for high performers, or maybe it's an agent-to-agent referral. Where is the best place that we can send them in order for them to have a conversation with you?
Yeah, you can search me on Instagram at John Tayeb or call me directly on my cell. I might not pick up, so you might better text me. 917-379-6364. And yes, that's my cell. Same number for 20 years.
John, man, I want to say thank you so much for sharing with us today, for just imparting so much knowledge and wisdom into our audience. And I want to say thank you for tuning into another episode of the RE Agent Podcast, the #1 real estate podcast in the world. We'll see you soon.